This is probably my last chance to do this. Can I get a good morning, Mr. Faber? I love that. Thank you. Well, you do a lot of praying when you're a father. When baby Emily was first given to me, she was an answer to a prayer. And I couldn't wait for her to get here. But I have the confession to make. It's like the little girl. After your first smile and your first steps and your first lemonade stand and your first cooking show, and the first time I heard your little voice say, "I love you, Daddy," I prayed to slow things up a little bit so you might stay a little girl a little longer and keep that bow and climbing up on the piano bench. But time moves on, and that prayer was answered in a different way because somewhere along the way you turned into this young woman. Confident, beautiful, kind, and one of the most interesting people I'll ever meet. Now I don't pray to God to slow things up, but I ask God to bring it on. Let me see what this young woman will do next. Let me see her community service, her leadership, her scholarship, her editing, her writing, her acting. All my prayers have been answered with you. And that continues even to today, because this morning, my little Dardar is going to be giving her senior speech. And on behalf of her mother and me, I ask each of you now to join me in welcoming Miss Emily Faber to the stage.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. 26 letters constitute the English alphabet. However, there's an estimated 1 million words in the English vernacular. That means that letters are the ultimate shapeshifters. Greater architects than Da Vinci, better artists than Michelangelo, and more destructive than a tsunami. I am a firm believer in the power of words. Partly because I'm haunted by the incidents in which I failed to use my words when I should have. In 7th grade, I starred as Maddie in 100 Dresses. Maddie was torn between standing up for the poor Polish girl that the classmates ridiculed and trying to be seen favorably by her popular friend, Peggy. In the end, Maddie realizes what she must do, but it's too late. The Polish girl has to leave school because she's so tortured, and Maddie has to live with the guilt. Too many times I've lived through the same situation as Maddie and remained silent. I literally have a script memorized of what to say in such circumstances, yet sometimes it feels impossible to say the words I need to. One of my favorite people in the world, Elie Wiesel, a Holocaust survivor and activist, put it perfectly. We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the oppressed. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. Sometimes all it takes is a few words here and there to make a person feel comfortable or to keep the gossip at bay. Those instances reveal to me just how important words are. We have the power to destroy, but we also have the power to create. Create new beginnings, create new friendships, create understanding. But part of the double-edged sword that is language is that each word holds significant weight. Each word is a choice that we have to make. Be cognizant when you say things, and even more aware of what's holding you back when you don't. For all of the importance I put on language, I hadn't prepared myself for the powerful moments that would occur without words at all. When I went to Israel this summer on the Bronfman Youth Fellowship, I did not know that there would be a war. I didn't know people were going to die. However, I became well acquainted with the political turmoil between Palestinians and Israelis, as well as the steps of procedure to take during a siren. During the trip, 6 out of the 26 fellows were given the opportunity to travel to Tel Aviv, Israel's capital, to attend the funeral of an officer who had essentially died trying to defend us. When I asked to go to the funeral of this soldier, some of the members of my group were skeptical. "You don't know Hebrew," they said. "You won't understand anything that's happening. Let someone else go who is fluent." I went anyway because their arguments meant nothing to me. I was going to Tel Aviv to mourn for life, regardless of language religious background, nationality, or the words I would or wouldn't understand. However, they were right. I didn't understand anything the funeral speaker said. In the beginning of the service, our teacher translated when the fiancé read the poem they'd included on their wedding invitation, or how his father talked about his son's contagious smile. But after a while, he couldn't manage the effort of translation through sobs. So I had to translate for myself without those 26 letters to guide me. I realized that although I couldn't decipher exactly what his family and friends were saying about him, I could feel what they said. I stood in that crowd of 2,000 people and cried for that officer. Every time a speaker said something powerful, a wave of grief would affect the other people around me, and I felt the loss that they felt. Compassion and empathy are not bound by words. You see, entire wars can occur when people don't take the time to deny the mindsets their communities have formed for them and go out in the world and form opinions for themselves. Because people are made of words. All I am to you is the adjectives people use to describe me or my actions that seem to build up a representation of who I am as a person. And when you have an entire population of people, say the Jews in World War II, who are described with words like rat, scum, money pinchers, then you can dehumanize those people and justify violence against them. The things we say about each other that seem to go by unnoticed are actually the building blocks of people's reality. For those of you who know me, you know me as a writer. I get it from everyone, teachers, family, friends. They all tell me I'm good at it, and that because I'm good at it, that writing should somehow come easily to me. I must thank my English teachers at Hutchinson over the years, who have not only reinforced the idea that my words are valid and of value, but that I can use writing to reflect and take in the world and all of its amazingness. But in addition to my teachers with their red pens, I have my mother to thank for whipping my writing into shape. I like to think of her as a surgeon who would take the blade of her red pen and cut open my paper, identify the error that kept the work from pulsing a beating heart, and help me stitch it back up again. While this may come across as harsh, I've learned that one's writing doesn't improve unless the writer is told that her work stinks, even if the writer is in 3rd grade. Beware that if you ever ask me to edit your paper, I will approach it with the same zeal as my mother. That criticism and editing did make me stronger as a writer and a person. However, something happened once I entered high school. I lost my ability to write like I used to. Somehow, all of the pressures of conforming to the scripted format applicable to people's interest other than mine complicated my once carefree approach to writing. I used to write for myself. Now I wonder how each word will affect others. I constantly second-guess my abilities to the point where I can no longer write mystery novels like I used to in 3rd grade, or adventure stories, because I feel I have to be so true to life that fiction has no place. In a realm where reality, college, growing up, leaving home, has never felt so imminent, I've lost the ability to just have fun with it. However, where I lost one passion in writing, I gained another in playing piano. I realized that I could approach the piano keyboard like I used to approach a computer keyboard, and I could string notes together like letters into words and then stories. Since I haven't tainted the piano with my perfectionism, I use it to retrieve the stories I feel need telling, but through a different medium than the English language, because words don't always have to be spoken to be heard. You see, words are the measure of my self-worth, my greatest assets, my enemies, and my greatest inspiration. I'm in a constant state of amazement at the power of words, and even more importantly, of the power of humanity to manipulate words for good and for evil. For all the goodness in my life, thank you, Hutchinson, for teaching me A to Z in pre-K. Thank you to my many teachers with their red pens. And thank you, Ms. Caskey, for teaching me to have an impact even when my role has no words to say. This speech contains 1,246 words, made from the 26 letters of the English alphabet. I hope that I use these letters well. Thank you.